Okay, hello. I just bought The Usual Suspects recently and rewatched it. Yeah, I really, really like this movie. I was just talking about it with my brother quite a bit. Um, let's see, where should I start? I really like the mood and atmosphere from the start of the movie. I guess so. Bryan Singer's the director. I don't like his stuff that he made later. I sort of feel like he's a bit like M. Night Shyamalan, where it's a little bit of a one-hit wonder sort of thing. Like Superman Returns, I didn't like. I think the X-Men movies are really overrated. I think they take themselves too seriously, and they imply that it's actually those movies are about evolution when it has nothing to do with that. And I don't know, discrimination. I don't think that works. But anyway, The Usual Suspects is really fun and exciting, and it's a bit like The Sixth Sense, and then M. Night has made other good movies, I think, but not on the same degree, to the same degree. I think a big part of it is the writing by Christopher McQuarrie in the case of The Usual Suspects. It's a really, I don't know, it seems like a very tight script. I don't know what that means, like just really fast paced and interesting. I really like the actors. The acting is really, really good. It seems like a very good cast. And it just has that raw excitement of like, this is a new story. It's not, I wouldn't call it like hugely original. It seems to borrow a lot from other kinds of movies. I think it's considered like a neo-noir or something, you know. Anyway, so what else? Yeah, the early on, like the mood of it, the atmosphere, the way it has, we get these shots of the boat, and there's a lot of shots that just slowly move in, and they're really exciting and interesting. It made me think of when I was a kid. I used to do some scripture. I think I was never religious or anything, but it was boring. And I was so confused, like, is God real or not? Or I wasn't like in a dilemma, but I was just like, I was used to facts. So I was learning about the planets, and then I'd learn I'd learn these stories, and I'd be like, is this real? Like, why would you tell it to us? Can't you just say this is a made up story? I was so confused. Anyway, one time I got a different teacher, and he told the story of Samson and Delilah, and it was just really exciting and interesting. And I was like, I'm pretty certain this never happened, but it's exciting anyway. And a big part of it was the way he told it. And I just think when you've got that confidence and sincerity, something becomes really interesting. And these shots of the boat, just are very plain. It's just like a circular window thing, and then it's just slowly moving in. Like there's something significant about this. It's very bold, and just, yeah, and it sort of sets those images in your mind like this is significant, but you don't know why yet. So there's a feeling of deja vu later on near the end of the movie, which I think is a really interesting thing that should get used more in movies. But okay, I will be spoiling it. If you haven't seen it, by the way, it's a really awesome, exciting thriller that lots of twisted turns, lots of surprises, some action, and just, yeah, really good acting, a really good script that keeps things moving. Okay, so I want to address the ending a bit. It is a very cool ending, a very exciting twist that you find out at the end, and I kind of like that it's a double twist. You sort of think, oh, so that's what happened, but then no, there's a extra level. But I think some of it's flawed. Like, so Charles Palminteri or whatever, the cop that's interrogating Verbal Kin, I felt like he put himself out there too much. He should have, you don't want to be too convinced of what you think. And this time watching it, it seemed like he was already convinced, like very early on, that Keaton, there was more to him than met the eye, that he had done. I don't know. So he didn't seem open, like, and he wasn't getting info out of Verbal so much as he was trying to, I don't know. He seemed to already have an idea in his mind, and that limited. I feel like Verbal was in control the whole time and completely playing him, which is obvious also from the names that he made up. Although that's confusing. It's a bit. There's so many. It's very open ended, like how you interpret it. Did Verbal plan to get caught, or was that just an accident or something that just couldn't be avoided? And then was he just toying with them for fun with the names? Isn't that highly risky? Like, I think it's he got found out a minute after he left. What if the cop just happened to have a sip of tea and look at the back, and just notice one of the names a bit earlier. My brother and I were joking about, he might be about to look, and then Verbal was like, oh, and then there was a huge explosion, like just anything to distract him from looking. There's so many ways you could make fun of it, but it's kind of cute. It's like a cute idea that doesn't hold up that well if you think about it. It's so risky to use names of things that are in the room, the chance of you getting caught. And then there's this other Hungarian guy that survived. And then there's a cop who just seems really impatient with him. Like, he's a survivor. He could have really good information. He's just like, yeah, we know about the dope, or we know about that, They seem dismissive towards him. And then he mentions Kaiser Soze, and they light up. Lamina Kaiser Soze, Lamina Kaiser Soze, or whatever. And then they get this lady to draw Kaiser Soze, and it takes forever. Like, I swear that was like 20 minutes, half an hour in, she starts drawing, and of course it's strategically placed so you can't see the drawing, and, and only at the very end. You would think if you've got two survivors and one of them can positively identify an infamous criminal, maybe just keep the other one just for a little longer, just at least to show him the picture, or just to get his point of view, or just in case he, in this case, is Kaiser Soze. Why would you just let him go before you've at least just seen that picture? And it's just too convenient, the timing of it. And yeah, also, did he really get away at the end? I think it's so funny, like, Chaz Palminteri is so confident, and, he's just sipping his tea at the end when he thinks he's figured it all out, and Gabriel Byrne was Kaiser Soze, and then he sort of, is looking and notices the names, and then slow motion drops the... I also think that's hilarious that people... I don't think I've ever dropped something out of surprise. Like, if something scared me, yeah, I might drop what I've got, but I don't think I've ever had, like, a drink. I mean, maybe it's a rare occurrence, but is that really, you just drop something if you're... Maybe you do. I guess you do. It's for dramatic effect. But then he's just shocked, and then goes out, and he's like, where is he? And he's like, oh, damn. And I just think, how hard would it be to find him? You've got, he just left the area, so you know where he's left from. You're part of the police force. You could get that many police. You know exactly what he looks like. You've got photos, a lineup. You would have a fair bit of information at least. Even if some of it's false, so it turns out he doesn't have a limp, he's different, but is he a master of disguise? He's put on sunglasses. We know he has a gold watch and a gold cigarette lighter or whatever. He can't, unless he wants to get rid of those are now clues. Can't you just put his face on national TV and just say, this is a wanted man, this is Kaiser Soze? My brother was joking about how the whole point of what happens in the movie is that Kaiser Soze needs to get rid of this one guy, some Hungarian guy, who recognizes him. So he sets up this whole thing, like rounding up these suspects, and then doing all these deals together to get basically distracts them about some cocaine thing on a boat, so he can kill this one guy who knows who he is, who knows what he looks like. And then, another Hungarian guy finds out, and then it ends up being this whole police department, and potentially everyone knows exactly who Kaiser Soze is and what he looks like. It's an epic fail. I think, like, the movie's, it's got a good ending, and it should end at that point, but I just sort of felt like it's not finished yet. we were joking about how, he probably gets caught 5 minutes later, just pulled over like, all right. Sorry, but we figured out your Kaiser Soze. You made up all those names. Probably wasn't the best idea. It also brings into question how much of the story is true. I know Roger Ebert gave the movie 1.5 stars, which, I mean, that's fair enough. If you didn't, I kind of understand where he's coming from. In some ways it is frustrating. It feels like it's just playing with you for the fun of it. And I feel like there are some movies that do that are just kind of pretentious. And, just like M. Night's Shyamalan's, his later movies, I think, are a bit like that, where you just feel like you're being taken for a ride without really having any deeper purpose. So yeah, the ending can feel a bit cheap in some ways, like you don't have to actually make it make sense. In the end, it was just, oh, it was all from his point of view. So if you find an error, it's like, well, that was deliberate. But I find it really entertaining. I still do really like it. I think it's still it's sort of a style of a substance thing, but also the acting. I really like the characters and the mystery. The character of Kaiser Soze, or the mythology around him, is really interesting. I really like those lines. I don't think they're like amazing, but the whole thing of the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world it didn't exist, which apparently was by Charles Baudelaire, the French or whatever French poet. And I think the writer and director didn't even know that it was from him originally. But anyway, it's like an interesting idea, and then like that, he's gone. I didn't like at the end the way it just had all those quotes, like all the chat 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 chat, and he's looking at the names, and it's this weird montage. I thought that was overkill. That's not how I remembered it ending. I think the twist is powerful, but I think it would have been better maybe just a bit of music and just maybe one or two quotes that you replay. I don't even think you need to replay the quotes. You can just have a sudden realization and look at the names and just this shock, and like maybe he can think back, maybe one or two little flashbacks. We don't need, I just thought it was over the top. All this da 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 da, it makes it seem more intricate than it actually is. It's also a little bit, even reminds me of Agatha Christie, where it's like, it could have been anyone. Even the actors themselves apparently all thought that they were Kaiser Soze, and in particular Gabriel Byrne, or however you say his last name. I hate names like that which are spelt weird, where it just a Byrne, Byr. What? How is that said? Burr, just Burn, I think. But anyway, like got annoyed and argued with the director. But that indicates it could have been anyone. So it is a bit of an arbitrary, oh, and by the way, this is what was happening the whole time. There are some clues if you look back. Anyway, but yeah, in the end, I do like it a lot, but I think it's it's cool. I remember seeing Ocean's 11, and I didn't like it at all, and I just felt, some people seem to think, oh, it's so cool. I didn't think it was cool at all. It seems, that's a movie that seems to think it's cool, but it just seems dated and dull to me. I've only really seen it maybe once, but this movie actually seems really cool. There's something about it that's really exciting and edgy. I'd like to think most of the story is true, but I guess you don't know. You don't know for sure. And yeah, it does have this really cool style to it, where it really plays up the mystery. It doesn't, I don't know, what am I trying to say? Let me think. Yeah, I feel like it's not too flashy. It's not trying to lay lots of hints and clues. It's not like Agatha Christie in terms of, all the characters could be Kaiser Soze. You sort of feel like they're all criminals, but they were actually really likable. I felt for criminals. I really liked them, and could relate to them, and was sort of rooting for them the whole time. But at least they're not acting like I could be Kaiser Soze and I could be, and they're all overly suspicious. I hate when that happens. It's more a matter of Kaiser Soze is this omnipresent, omnipowerful sort of figure that they're all sort of affected by. And then Pete Postlethwaite turns up with a weird accent. People were saying, like, was he trying to be Japanese? Because it doesn't sound like that. Because the name Kobayashi would be Japanese. But anyway, that's kind of mysterious, and he's kind of ominous. Some of the stuff some of the threats he makes are really dark. You can easily miss those lines. But he mentions, your nephew being castrated, and like, I don't know, your uncle, this or that happening to family members, and you think, geez, what is... And then the way they have the files, he gives the files out, and it has all of the information about them. I really liked how Kevin Pollock mentions the truck robbery or whatever it was, stealing recently, which is the one that brought them all in, and he's like, oh, what? So he was the guilty one of that crime, which I didn't I didn't see coming. I didn't remember that. I also think it's hilarious that Benicio del Toro, his voice, you can't understand him at all. I just read apparently he said he decided he was like a Chinese Puerto Rican something Jew. And just it's also hilarious that the lineup, the which is sort of like the movie cover that you can see here, that scene was meant to be serious, and yet they all were joking around, and the director was getting angry, and then decided to give in and use the funniest text for that. It is a funny scene, and you feel like there is this good chemistry between the characters. They don't completely trust each other, but at least they kind of work together. Um, anyway, one part I liked was when they robbed the police. Like, that was actually really satisfying when they get the green or emerald jewels, which were apparently real, that they were loaned for the film. I don't see the point. They're only in like one shot. Do you really need to go to that trouble? Is it to promote how cool jewels are, to show them? It's like a product placement thing. And they get the money, and they expose this racket, this thing going on, and then the police get in heaps of trouble, or a certain department does, all the way up to the chief. And it was weird. I was just like, I really see. I would never be a criminal or anything, right? But other than downloading music, which is or that sort of thing, which is so evil and so illegal. But you really feel satisfied when they do that. It just feels like justice in a way, or like they pulled it off and it went so well. But then I guess there's other parts that don't go well. I don't fully understand all of Kaiser Soze's plot. How exactly, what parts was he in charge of? How did he get the usual suspects, those people, to get called in, and why? And I didn't even get why they went along for the job. I don't think they were obliged to. One of them says they have a job. I get when Pete Postlethwaite, Kobayashi, comes in, he sort of gives them no choice, almost sort of, blackmails them, I guess, into doing it. But the earlier missions that they did, I didn't see why they had to. But anyway, I don't think, let me just, anyway, so just to leave it there, I summarize, it's really a really good script, very fast-paced and exciting, really good acting. The style is good. I think that's what I think with Bryan Singer. If he's got a really good script to work with, he's fine. Because the way the movie flows, it always builds the mystery there. It makes it interesting. It's a movie that's fun and exciting to watch, even if you know what's going to happen and what the mystery is. It's just that style. I wish more movies had that kind of feeling of like anything could happen at any time, and it's like a very fluid, dynamic thing to it. A lot of movies seem to just be plodding and slow, or there's this standard cliche things. This one just seems really fast and alternately funny and exciting and thrilling and kind of scary or messed up or surprising or shocking, and just that's what good movies should be like. So anyway, I'll leave it there. The Usual Suspects, I might give it a 9 out of 10. I do really like it a lot, but I felt like part of it doesn't hold up. Like, he's not going to get away. Everyone knows what he looks like. They could put his name on TV. I mean, his face, Kaiser Soze. But anyway, alright. Bye. Thanks for watching.